Thank you for joining us today. Today, we have a mystery guest who's no longer a mystery. It's my cousin, Dominique, and we're going to be talking about a wide variety of topics, how she did on a job interview. And she said she actually used one of the techniques from one of my videos. And we're also going to talk about the time that she spoke on Capitol Hill. I'm jealous, Dominique. I don't know how you did that, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Dominique, how's it going? Tell me something good that's happening in your life today.
Well, something good. Well, I'm working right now at a school for the deaf. So I'm working with deaf children who I can connect with because I'm deaf myself. So today was my first day. So that was something exciting, and
Awesome.
I had a great first day back. Well, because I did my internship. So now that is my first day back as an employee though now. So
That's
it
so
was
cool.
a good experience today.
So you made that transition from being an intern to now being a paid employee.
Yeah.
Congratulations. And
Thank you. Yes, I'm so thrilled. I'm just so glad to be back. This is just it feels like I can connect with the kids. The staff here is really friendly and everybody seems to know how to collaborate well, and the school relationship, the system, everything's, it's just very positive. Sunshine is a private school, so it's small, so the classes are small. So it makes it easier for me, being deaf, trying to catch on, try to hear everything that's going on. And plus there's microphones all in the classroom. They're just very well equipped, and so I can hear what's going on and just being involved as well.
yeah,
So that's nice.
that's so cool. So you're there now and it sounds like a great place. It sounds like you really like it.
I
Um,
do.
yeah.
Mhm.
Why did you choose the Sunshine Cottage? Why did you choose to interview there and seek a job and internship there?
Well, that's interesting. So I went to school. I got my master's in school counseling, and I needed an internship. And I wanted to intern in DC because that's where I went to school.
Yeah.
And the department said, no, sorry, but you need to go out of the state. They were even saying like you can go out of the country, but that I could not stay local in DC or in Maryland. Like they did not want that.
Mhm.
Where am I gonna go? How am I gonna just find some place out of the state? How am I gonna pay for rent? It's just a lot of factors that I just, was not possible, for me to move out of the state
Yeah.
and out of DC area. So my mom mentioned, she said, you know what, why don't you just come back home? There's Sunshine Cottage. I went to school there when I was younger. So some of the teachers here are still here from when I was much younger too.
Wow.
So anyway, my mom said, come, go to, just apply for the internship there and see if it's a good fit. So I met with the school counselor here and she said, hey, come on in. And yeah, I just, everything's hands-on. She just basically said, here you go. And just, I started meeting with the kids one-on-one. I started doing group counseling, and it was a great experience. And so I just told myself I want to stay here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's why I'm back.
That's cool. When was that moment when you realized you wanted to stay there, when you were just like, oh, I really like it here a lot? When did that happen?
And I think for me, it was like probably that first day because I've had several other jobs to where first days or first week were always so stressful for me because I couldn't understand, or people didn't really know how to communicate with me.
Yeah.
Or they hear that I speak well, so they didn't look at me, or they'll forget. So and then that would end up being some awkwardness or some frustration would come out.
Yeah.
A lot of people at different jobs will get frustrated, or and then there'll be some tension, or some frustration between us.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm Deb, I'm sorry, please look at me. I'll just have to give them the whole reasoning, like, to please look at me, and it was just great. It was just very difficult for me.
Yeah.
And when I came here, people are just mindful of that. They made sure to look at me, they speak clearly. And so it was like like a kind of like a breather. And then my eyes didn't hurt so much because I was usually I'm always like trying to figure out who's talking. But over here, people talk, they're just more mindful.
Yeah.
And so I think that first week, that's when I was like, I can see myself working here, long term.
So they're very mindful of just making sure like they were looking at you when they spoke to you, so you could, so that helps you.
Yeah, I think because they're trained, working with the other younger ones that are deaf.
Yeah.
They're just, yeah, they're very mindful. They enunciate words very
Okay.
clearly, but not overly.
Yeah.
It's not like a space. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just very clear. And plus, it helps with the microphone because all the teachers here wear a microphone.
That's awesome.
It is. It's really neat. Maybe one of these days, you can come and I can give you a tour. I mean, the school is, yeah, there's like, I'm in like an observation room.
Mm-hmm.
So parents or people come and they'll like observe like the class because it's different than your typical classroom environment.
Oh, that sounds really cool.
It is, yeah.
It sounds like they made like a perfect environment for basically helping deaf kids, right? To learn.
Well, I do also want to add though, there's, how there's deaf and there's options. So you can be deaf and go to an oral school. Like this is an oral school, and then there's deaf, and there's ASL deaf schools where it's sign only school, and that's like tested school for the deaf. And I did an internship at a deaf school. Just because of how I was raised, oral, sign language is my second language. I just feel what works best for me is here, like working at an oral deaf school.
Okay.
So I think it's important to also mention that some orals, like Sunshine, doesn't work for every deaf student.
Okay. It's there's one for sign language, American Sign Language, and then there's one for speaking people who's.
Yes.
Okay.
There's so I've had both experience of both worlds because Gallaudet, also the school I went to, it's a sign only university.
Yeah. Wow.
So they're just people there. I have friends who are deaf who went to a deaf school, and that's where they love, and that's where they thrived. And so like for me, I went to an oral school, and that's that's it just
it's a better fit because
better fit. Yes.
That's where you are, because you don't just do sign language, you speak too, and you speak very well.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So yeah. It's just kind of, I just wanted to like kind of share the difference between oral schools and deaf schools.
Okay.
There's deaf / hard of hearing. I consider myself deaf because without my cochlear, I don't hear anything, nothing. But it's pretty much like an identity. Like I identify myself as deaf.
Okay.
Some people think I'm hard of hearing because they just get confused because they see like, oh, but you can hear, but no, and just without it, I'm completely deaf. And that's just what I identify myself as.
Yeah.
But another person may say they're hard of hearing, which means they have some hearing without. It's really just an identity thing.
How does your new job that you got at Sunshine, or your role currently in Sunshine, how does that align with your purpose and the things that are important to you?
Okay, so how it aligns with what's important to me is that my purpose is that I'm able to work with the deaf students, deaf and hard of hearing students, and support them, either it's academics, emotionally, and get through. And I think for me, it's I want them to understand that there will be challenges, but they'll get through it. And I want them to see, they're not alone. Because, myself being deaf, I went through my own challenges, and I feel like I got through it. And so I want them to see that. And I also want them to just be aware that they will be confronted with different things in life. And so how it aligns with my purpose is that it gives me the opportunity to support students that are deaf and hard of hearing, support them academically, emotionally. And that's something that I wanted to do, to pursue a career in that. And so working here, that's what I'm able to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what I hope I just had my first day. So
Yeah.
I hope that's what, I can make a difference in these kids' lives.
Yeah.
Just like I had a really good school counselor growing up, and she impacted my life, and she pretty much the reason why I followed her footsteps.
Yeah.
And I want to do the same for kids that are the deaf and hard of hearing.
That's so awesome. I really love that. And it's so cool that we're catching you on your first day.
I know.
That's really
Yeah.
cool. The next question has to do with your interview, because you mentioned that you watched one of my videos and it helped a little bit with your interview. What was that process like with interviewing before and then after, and what did you learn, and do you have any tips? Because I know this is a job you have been looking at for a long time. That's kind of an all over the place question. Let me know if you want me to break it up. But
okay, yeah, I get it. So when I saw your video about just having a different outlook when it comes to approaching job interviews, because I think for me initially I was always get really nervous. I would try to write down or type up what I'm gonna say prior to the interviews. Before I saw your videos, I would always approach it very nervous. I would try to keep myself positive, or I'm gonna do well. But in the moment, then that's when I remember what I want to say. And so the interviews were so. In fact, one of my first interviews, I got the job, but later the manager actually told me, she said, you were very nervous in your interview. Yeah. And I said, yes, I know. And she said, yeah, that I was so nervous that I had my hand like right on the chair, and I was like this. So I was like,
yeah,
basically holding myself down on the chair. I didn't even know, because you're just so nervous. And this was when I was younger, which I'm glad I was much younger, but it stayed with me. So when I had these interviews, then I'm thinking about, where are my hands? Where do I put them up here? Like, I'm much more conscientious, but then it kind of eats you up. It just makes you more self-conscious. So then I'm worrying about, okay, do I look into it? So I'm not even like paying attention to what the question is. So once I'm told the question, I have to repeat the question so I can just process it in my own mind, and then I'll answer it. So
Go ahead.
So that was just like I just had that kind of trouble. So I never really looked forward to job interviews. So when I knew I had Sunshine coming up, I was, a little nervous, but I still had some time. But I wasn't, just to try to just talk positive about it. But then I saw your video, and you talked about the importance of looking at a job interview as an opportunity to be excited, to look forward to, and to just talk to yourself about, like, I'm excited, and walk into it as if you are. And I think that's how I decided to approach this interview, Sunshine Cottage. So a few days prior to that, I was just telling myself, I'm excited. I look forward to this interview. I look forward to seeing so and so, and it helped. And the drive over there, I just kept telling myself, I'm excited. I'm gonna do well. It's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
And once I got in, I felt like I was excited. Like and it felt natural. The interview was natural. I was able to answer as in it was not like as if I like scripted. It just like I knew how to. It just flowed. Good. So I would say out of all of the other interviews that I've had, this one was the best interview.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it went really good. So a tip that I have for anyone that is about to have an interview, I would say I think a lot of people would tell me, write down what you're going to say and write it 3 different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But then I would it didn't work for me, because then I would go in and then, I'm not going to think, I just don't have it memorized.
Yeah.
So I would say, when you walk in, prior to that, do what Joseph also said. Go in there excited, greet people, just be friendly, just be yourself, just follow Joseph's advice.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Dominique. Final thing I wanted to talk about here was you actually spoke on Capitol Hill, where the Congress people meet in Washington, D.C., correct?
I did, yes.
How did that happen? How did you end up speaking on Capitol Hill?
How did that happen? So this was in 2018
Mhm.
of December, and I didn't have class, and I received an email through my university at Gallaudet. They were just looking for people to to testify.
Yeah.
And so they kind of gave a brief description of what they were looking for, a little bit about the hearing.
Mhm.
And I said, you know what, why don't I'll go. And I had no idea really with what I was walking in. And so I wrote a little draft of what I wanted to say. And so the whole thing, it was about having open captioning in theaters.
Yeah.
So which, open captioning is actually having a closed captions on the screen.
Yeah.
And so the argument was that there was not enough in theaters that were having these open captionings. And mind you, DC is, I may be wrong, but it has a second, I think it's the second biggest, but there's a huge population of deaf and hard of hearing individuals.
Okay.
Big community there. I mean, Gallaudet is there, and it's in DC.
Yeah.
So there was just not enough theaters that have open captioning. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, I'm gonna go and testify my own how I feel about that. So that's how it happened. It was just a very spontaneous moment. Yeah. And I got dressed professionally and I went over there. I had no idea that was going to be filmed, and it was. So it was neat because I got to share with my family, my parents. Yeah. And so they also got to kind of hear how I feel about it, because I kind of share like my own personal experience, what it's like to feel like you're excluded, when you go to the theater and you don't understand. So it's just like that kind of thing. So it was a good experience for me. And I think for also my family and friends who got to see it.
Yeah. When I saw that, I was very proud of you. I think you did a really great job.
Thank you, Joseph.
And what was, just final question here, what was going through your mind right before you spoke on Capitol Hill? What was going through your mind? I assume it's like a big building.
It's big, and it's a beautiful building.
Yeah.
So it's in front of this committee, and so you're like seated down, and they're like all the way up here, so you're like looking up.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. And so they call you. So there's like a list of people, and so I was like one of like the last few. So there was like people going. So I just went up there. I mean, I was a little nervous. I mean, I definitely didn't have the advice of be excited and look at this as an opportunity to just to look forward to. I didn't have that thinking or anything, so I was nervous.
Yeah.
I mean, I did have a little bit shaking, but it was I don't know, somehow I got through it. And what was going through my mind as I was speaking to them, nothing really, because you're just trying to deliver the speech.
Very good.
So
it sounds like you were in the moment then. That's good.
Yeah, you're in the moment. I'm just trying to like explain or share my part, and then and make sure I do it clearly and that they understand. And I also I think what was also important to me was that I gave them a personal approach.
Yeah.
So that's why a personal touch. So that my speech was a little bit more about how I felt and what I went through.
Okay,
And
Dominique, what's one takeaway that you want our audience to get from this interview? One last thing to leave them with.
so one last thing to leave you guys with is don't ever be afraid to approach someone who is deaf and hard of hearing. If they tell you, oh, they say, oh, I'm deaf, don't apologize. Just say, oh, okay, and find a way to communicate with them. We're not going to bite. We understand that there may be a communication barrier, but we'll work with you. And so I want people to be more aware and of the deaf culture, and just take the time to learn and learn how to be patient. If you have any questions or anything about Gallaudet University, which is the only deaf university in the United States,
Wow.
If you have any questions about that, if you have any questions about sign language or deaf culture, please contact me.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Dominique. And final thing, how do you say bye in sign language?
It's
Like
the
this?
universal way. Bye.
Okay.
Or bye like that. Or no, this is more like hi.
Yeah.
Bye. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's just like bye.
It's not surprising. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for watching this interview. I'm so happy to have you, Dominique. You did a great job. And I'll leave information. I'm going to talk to Dominique afterwards. Whatever information she's comfortable with me putting, I'll put in the description about Dominique. And bye.
Bye.